Naomi Osaka had just lost. Only minutes later, she was asked about Alex Eala, and her answer would soon become one of the biggest talking points of the tournament. But we're not revealing that answer yet. Because if you hear Naomi Osaka's words before you understand what Alex Eala had just accomplished, they won't have the same impact. And that's exactly why so many people missed the real story at first. Some thought Osaka was simply being respectful after a difficult loss. Others believed she was giving the kind of polite answer every champion gives after a match. But within days, everything changed. Journalists started repeating her words. Fans began sharing them. Tennis analysts pointed back to that exact press conference. Suddenly, people weren't saying Osaka was just being respectful. They were saying she saw it before everyone else did. So here's the real question. What did a four-time Grand Slam champion see in a 21-year-old player that made her spend more time talking about her opponent than talking about herself? Because that almost never happens, especially not immediately after a painful semifinal defeat. Stay with this story. You'll hear Naomi Osaka's complete quote, word for word, in just a few minutes. But first, you need to understand the journey that made those words possible. This story takes us to the Mubadala Citi DC Open in Washington, D.C. Alex Eala arrived ranked world number 28. She wasn't the top seed. She wasn't the tournament favorite. Most of the attention was on established champions, players who had already won Grand Slams, players who had spent years inside the world's top 10, and players expected to be playing on championship weekend. Very few people expected Alex Eala to become the biggest story of the tournament. But tennis doesn't always follow expectations. Sometimes it creates new ones. At first, it looked like one impressive win, then another, and slowly something changed. People stopped calling it an upset. They stopped calling it luck. They started noticing a pattern. Because every time Alex Eala walked onto the court, another big name walked off it. One champion, then another. By the time the semifinal arrived, the conversation had completely changed. People were no longer asking, can Alex Eala beat Naomi Osaka? Instead, a different question had started appearing. Can Naomi Osaka stop Alex Eala? That question wasn't created by headlines. It wasn't created by hype. It was created by results, and those results were impossible to ignore. We'll get to them in just a moment. But first, here's a quick challenge for every tennis fan watching. Let's complete our first 500 subscribers together. If you enjoy fact-based tennis stories backed by real interviews, real statistics, and verified information, not rumors, hit the subscribe button now. Tennis Hive isn't just our channel. It's your tennis community too. Your support helps us keep bringing these stories before they become the biggest headlines in the sport. Now, let's go back to Washington, because the semifinal itself wasn't the biggest surprise. The biggest surprise came after the final point. And before Naomi Osaka revealed exactly what she thought about Alex Eala, Alex had already produced a run that forced some of the biggest names in women's tennis to pay attention. The remarkable part is this. Osaka wasn't the only champion who saw it. But before another top player reached the very same conclusion, Alex Eala first had to prove it on the court. And that's exactly where our story goes next. Before Alex Eala ever walked into that press conference, she had already built one of the most impressive runs of the tournament. It didn't happen because of one lucky match or one unexpected upset. It happened because she kept beating players who were expected to beat her. Her campaign began with a comeback victory over Zheng Qinwen, fighting back from a set down to win 4-6, 6-4, 6-1. Then she faced defending champion Leylah Fernandez, a player who knew the Washington courts better than almost anyone else in the draw. Eala defeated her 6-2, 7-6, winning the tiebreak 7-1. Next came Elina Svitolina, a former world number 3 and one of the most experienced competitors on the WTA Tour. Once again, Eala stayed composed and won in straight sets, 6-3, 6-4. By the time the semifinal arrived, this wasn't being described as a surprise anymore. It had become a pattern. Every round seemed to end the same way. Another accomplished player walked onto the court, and Alex Eala walked off with the victory. Then came Naomi Osaka, a four-time Grand Slam champion, a former world number one of the most dangerous hardcourt players of her generation. Many believed this would finally be the match where Eala's remarkable run would end. Instead, she delivered one of the biggest performances of her career. Eala took the opening set 6-4, then broke early in the second to seize complete control of the match. Osaka fought to stay within reach, but the pressure never disappeared. After just over an hour, the scoreboard read 6-4, 6-2, and Alex Eala had reached the first WTA 500 final of her career. The statistics explained why the result wasn't simply an upset. Eala won 71% of points on her first serve, 79% on her second serve, and committed only one double fault during the entire match. Osaka, known for possessing one of the biggest serves in women's tennis, was broken 4 times. After the match, Osaka accepted responsibility for the defeat, saying she felt she had made too many unforced errors. But then came the moment everyone was waiting for. The very first question in her press conference wasn't about her own mistakes. It was about Alex Eala's future. And instead of giving a short, polite answer, Naomi Osaka said this: "She's an amazing player. She's incredible. I think she's a star, and it's just really cool to have someone like her that I guess people can look up to. And for me, I think it's amazing that she's such an inspiration. And I really love hearing her talk because it's really cool the things that she says." At that moment, many people heard those words as simple respect from one champion to another. Looking back now, they sound much more like recognition. A 4-time Grand Slam champion wasn't simply congratulating the player who had beaten her. She was telling the tennis world that Alex Eala had already arrived. And as it turned out, Naomi Osaka wasn't the only elite player who believed that. Just hours later, another one of the world's best players would unknowingly reinforce Naomi Osaka's message. Waiting in the final was world number 3 Jessica Pegula, the tournament's top seed and one of the most consistent players on the WTA Tour. Before the championship match, Pegula was asked about facing Alex Eala. Her answer immediately caught people's attention. She said, "Alex, I'm a big fan of hers. She's the future of the tour, and she's already here." Think about those words for a moment. Pegula didn't say Eala might become a star someday. She didn't say she had potential. She said she's already here. Coming from one of the best players in the world, that wasn't a casual compliment. It was another sign that the players inside the locker room were seeing something many fans were only beginning to recognize. Pegula also acknowledged Eala's growing popularity throughout the tournament, saying, "I know that she has a huge following. She's a really nice girl." Now 2 of the biggest names in women's tennis had reached almost the same conclusion without influencing each other. Naomi Osaka called Alex Eala a star. Jessica Pegula described her as the future of the tour and said she had already arrived. When 2 elite champions independently describe the same young player in almost the same way, it stops sounding like kindness. It starts looking like a pattern, and the results supported every word they said. During one remarkable week in Washington, Alex Eala defeated Zheng Qinwen, defending champion Leylah Fernandez, former world number 3 Elina Svitolina, and 4-time Grand Slam champion Naomi Osaka. Those weren't lucky victories. They came against proven champions who had spent years competing at the highest level. Match after match, Eala showed composure under pressure, confidence in the biggest moments, and the consistency needed to beat world-class opponents. Reaching the WTA 500 final wasn't simply another milestone. It was confirmation that she could compete with the very best players in the world. A victory in the final would move her into the WTA top 20 for the first time, making her the first Filipino woman in history to achieve that ranking and improving her seeding ahead of the US Open. Just months earlier, Alex Eala was still fighting to establish herself at the highest level of the WTA Tour. Now she was playing the biggest final of her career against the world number 3. That kind of rise doesn't happen through luck. It's built through consistent performances, difficult victories, and the belief that you belong on the biggest stage. Looking back now, Naomi Osaka's press conference feels completely different. At first, many people thought she was simply showing respect after a difficult defeat. But as more champions, analysts, and fans watched Alex Eala continue her rise, those words carried much greater meaning. Osaka didn't wait for rankings to change. She didn't wait for trophies or headlines. She recognized what she had experienced firsthand on the court and said it immediately. That's why so many people now believe Naomi Osaka saw something special before almost everyone else did. And if this week in Washington proved anything, it's that Alex Eala's biggest story may still be ahead of her. If you've enjoyed following her incredible journey with us, help us complete our 500 subscriber challenge by joining the Tennis Hive family today. Your support helps us continue bringing you fact-based tennis stories backed by real interviews, verified information, and the moments that shape the future of the sport. Because Alex Eala's story is still being written, and when the next chapter begins, you'll hear it first, right here on Tennis Hive.